So thank you so much for being with us today. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. A bit of a
Uh-huh.
panic there.
No worries, no worries.
Um, so first of all, well, welcome and wow, congratulations on an amazing album.
Thank you.
Honestly, I hadn't listened to Thunder in a while, and this was a great surprise. This album is very eclectic.
Uh-huh.
As far as different styles, you even went in a totally different direction with a couple of songs, and like
Sure.
you can tell you really had fun with it. So this is like your third album in 4 years. Is this kind of like a very productive time for you?
Yeah. Well, I think it was. It definitely is. I mean, since we. Oh crikey! Well, I mean, we stopped for a few years, and then I think we had 6, 7 years between albums, and then in 2015 we came back with Wonder Days, and I think since then we've been kind of trying to kind of raise the bar on ourselves with every album and try and jump over it. And yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think what's happened as well to the world in the last few years is, despite it being very negative in general, it's actually helped our process in as much as as the person who writes the songs. The pandemic was very good for me because I just spent a lot of time writing songs as I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything else particularly. So to have that amount of time to focus on it and really kind of, sort of push the boundaries a bit and kind of maybe try going in a few different directions. All of those things were possible. And during the process of recording, really, I mean, we didn't set out to make a double album. It was kind of an accident, really.
This is your first double album as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's really odd. We spent, we recorded, I wrote 20 songs. We recorded 20 songs. And we kind of expected maybe it would be an album of 11. But once the album was finished, when we sat down to analyze everything and kind of think about it, we came to the conclusion there were 16 songs that had to be heard. And, despite the fact that some of them were maybe outside of our kind of usual musical territory, we felt that they were all relevant and all part of it and had to be included. And so by sort of necessity, really, it became a double album. And it's very interesting because people are, as soon as you say we're making a double album or we're releasing a double album, people kind of go, really? Why are you doing that? Are you insane? But it's also weird because it's almost like, oh, it's a serious piece of work then. People's attitude to it is quite interesting. But yeah, I mean, we all thought that the songs all deserved to be there, So we did it, and it also made things simpler because so much of the time these days you make an album that's 11 songs long, and then the label want an extra 2 songs for the limited vinyl edition, and the Japanese company want 2 exclusive tracks. So you end up kind of releasing 16 anyway. But this time we went, there's 16, that's fucking it. There's no more. No.
So I was, the album is very eclectic, and, a lot of artists were very inspired during COVID, and a lot of people came out with new material during COVID. Having the freedom to explore different things, is that kind of how the album came about, or did you consciously decide, you know what, this is the time for me to kind of try new things?
Well, I think we've always been, we're not the kind of band who could just kind of keep making the same album. I mean, if you look at, I don't know, AC/DC, for instance, they're fantastic at what they do, but they have a very, very kind of straight path, and which they never deviate from, really. And I've never really thought of us as being that kind of band. I mean, the bands that we grew up really loving, like Led Zeppelin, Queen, even the Beatles, and I think that kind of desire to pursue, to push the envelope and to try new things has always been there. But I think that perhaps now we just don't really give a fuck what anybody thinks anymore. So, and we're very fortunate because we have a large and dedicated fan base, especially in the UK, who've been with us a long time. And, we've, I like to think that lots of them will travel with us on this. And we made an album not that long ago, a few years ago, which was kind of rearranged, kind of semi-acoustic versions of our earlier songs. And they enjoyed that. And we even did a seated tour, which was very difficult for us because we're not that kind of band usually, but it was great fun and it went very well. So I think maybe that kind of helped us. That kind of gave us maybe a little bit more, not confidence exactly, but thought, well, okay, that our audience are with us, so it's okay. We can try a few more different things, and so we did, and yeah, it's great fun. And also as a musician, you want to everybody, the thing that I think people don't quite realise about Thunder is everybody's a very good musician, and we can all play in very various kinds of styles, and sometimes it's fun to do that. Sometimes it's great to be able to kind of wander off in a particular direction if you feel the song deserves it or the song warrants it. Like I said, this time we've just sort of thought, well, fuck it, let's just do it, and hope that people like it.
Well, as a person, you grow, and what you want to do changes, and
Sure.
You're very fortunate to have a fan base that follows you on your musical journey.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I do want to talk about some of the songs, sorry.
Yeah.
So The Western Sky is coming out as a single. It did have a very kind of edgy sound, kind of reminiscent of the 90s, I thought.
Yeah.
A lot of, concepts of freedom in the lyrics. You got kind of that, Western like movie feel. Do you think that being in lockdown and all of this did kind of inspire that we need a song about being free? And
there's certainly a degree of that in the album. I think Western Sky specifically, we about 10 years ago we got involved with this charity which raises money for children, called Childline, and we're involved every year, well, pretty much every year, not the last couple of years obviously, but before that for 10 years we went on this Harley Davidson trip, and it would take place around the more kind of obscure parts of the States and Canada, places like Montana, Idaho, Utah. Not the sort of places you normally go as a musician, but it was quite cool. And it's about sort of the amount of people varies between about 20 and 30, as many 30 some years. And we go out there and we do it. I said we did it every year. And we've raised so far over £250,000 for this children's charity. So it's a great thing to do. But what's great about the trip is the camaraderie, because like I said, there's a few musicians that do it. There's a few people that work in financial services. There's a few even military people that do it. And it's great fun. Everybody kind of eats together, travels together. We take the guitars. There's a sing-song some nights, and everybody kind of generally kind of gets on with it. And it's great fun to do. So part of Western Sky is kind of about that. But you got it actually when you were talking about sort of traveling westing. Basically, I loved westerns as a kid, and so there's a degree of sort of 19th century kind of, one of those amazing people that travelled from east to west across the states trying to find their, a place to settle. Yeah. So there's a degree of that in it too. So
I was going to ask, you feel the love of the Western, kind of all that movie movement.
Well, yeah. When I was a kid, my father loved westerns, and he would always take me to the cinema to see westerns. And Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid's still one of my favourite films. So I've always been sort of fascinated with that part of American culture and history. And like I said, these rides that we've been on have given us the chance to go to places like Monument Valley and see these kind of amazing kind of natural sort of phenomena. And so I do have a great love of that part of America, particularly where the off the beaten track places are incredible. It's an amazingly beautiful country. So yeah, it's great to be able to do that and to raise money and make money for kids is also good. So yeah, all good.
So there's a couple of ballads on the album. I think at the magazine we particularly loved Unraveling. Where to kind of, where do you get inspiration where you're going into something very emotional and a bit more?
Well, Unraveling is it's one of my favorite songs on the album. I think the inspiration for that was just probably I mean, I'm very happy because it wasn't about me, but I know I've seen lots of people go through, hell in the aftermath of a relationship breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of, and I started to write the music and thought, this is kind of sad. So we need maybe, I started thinking about those kind of things. And I'd scribbled down the word unraveling somewhere in my notes. So I thought that's a really cool word. And it's not a word that you hear often in songs, but it kind of perfectly describes the human state when you're falling to pieces, when your life's kind of falling apart. So I thought, well, I'm going to write a song about my life falling apart. So you get that kind of head on and, and you just kind of follow your instincts really. And I started to think of anecdotal stuff I'd heard from my friends and, or people that I knew that had been through that kind of situation recently.
So you pull from people and people around you?
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's, never tell a songwriter anything. It will get you used. So
anonymously, but it will be used.
So there's a degree of that in there. And I think that, the interesting thing about writing songs is that sometimes, and there's no kind of formula for it, you get this beautiful kind of marriage between the words and the melody and the music, and it all kind of fits in a, like it was always meant to be together. It's odd. And like I said, I don't know, there isn't a formula for that. You just have to keep doing it until occasionally those songs will just come along. And once I sort of got into it, the rest of it was written really quickly. And I'm really, really pleased with the band's performance on it, because obviously being a rock band, we don't normally play with that degree of we're not known for our delicate touch, shall we say. But everybody's playing on that is beautifully restrained, and Danny's singing as well is beautifully restrained. Although he, usually he's used to trying to shout over the top of a load of guitars and drums. So for him to kind of stay back and stay in that kind of within himself, and for the band to do the same and for it to all come together was quite challenging. It's also a very simple song, 3 chords or something, and sometimes the simplest ones are the most satisfying as a writer, because they appear to be effortless, but it actually takes a lot of experience, I guess, in the songwriting craft to be able to know when 3 chords is enough or whatever, So yeah, I'm very pleased. I'm glad you highlighted that song. So I'm very pleased.
Well, great. So there are a couple of songs that kind of go into a story that kind of like Dead City, for example. The Dead City, do you consciously go into that, like, I remember this story, I want to say this?
Okay, that's interesting. Dead City is actually it's about, I don't know where that song came from lyrically. It's actually about a post-apocalyptic drug dealer. I just started thinking about this. I just don't know where they came from. This character who sort of survived the bomb or whatever, or the plague, or whatever it was, and in this kind of remnants of what used to be an amazing city where all the buildings are kind of blown out and stuff, and there's burnt out cars everywhere. He goes around sort of peddling drugs and bad things to the poor specimens that are left, and he's also colossally vain. He's a very unpleasant character, and it's fun to inhabit characters when you write songs sometimes, because it gives you a completely new angle on everything. And on the band's last album, actually, just on All Right Noises, there's a song, I fucking hell, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's basically about, I tried to get inside Donald Trump's head and see what he saw and think what he thought. And because people who are unscrupulous and dangerous and unpleasant are often very, very interesting to try and kind of analyze. And the character in Dead City is kind of that. I mean, the arrogance of, you know, this city's making love to me tonight. I'm the man. It's very kind of,
Yeah.
It's vain, it's presumptuous. There's lots of unpleasant aspects to this character, but great fun to write about.
Is writing in character something you'd like to do on a longer, like maybe, I don't know, some groups do like rock opera type things, or like go to the end with like a full concept? Would a concept album be on the table?
I wouldn't write it off. You never know. It's not something that has occurred so far, but you never know, because I think, you know, I like to set myself new challenges. So it would be an interesting thing to attempt. And my other great sort of love, apart from music, is film. So, you know, my wife works in the film industry, so and she's constantly being sent scripts and stuff. So it does interest me. Storytelling does interest me. And normally in the frame of a 3, 4, 5 minute song, you know, you've got to be very, very economical with words, because you don't have long to say what you want to say. So that's kind of a skill in its own, to be able to spend, you know, an hour or an hour and a half telling the same story is a very different thing and a different skill. So it might be interesting to explore that. Not done it so far.
I thought it was very well done in the Dead City. So
thank you.
You talked about a kind of artist that you grew up with and that you were inspired by. Are there any artists today that you really admire the work of, or that kind of gets you going?
Yeah, I've got to be honest here and say that most of the music I listen to was probably made before 1985, if I'm really honest. I do listen to new artists, and occasionally, you know, you hear things. I mean, I tell you what, I like Billie Eilish. I think she's really interesting. I think she's very, very musical, and unique vocal style. Yeah, I find her very interesting. I really liked her debut album. I haven't heard the new album, but the debut album.
Very jazz. The new album is even more eclectic than your new album.
Oh, okay, well, that's good. That's good. And I like, you know, I like the like I said, the individualism. It's not like anything else that's around, and I think that's really good. And you know, in somebody so young, that's a lot of talent, obviously. And her collaborator, is it her brother? Is it her brother? Who's a collaborator?
Yeah, it's her brother.
Yeah, he's got his head screwed on as well. So that's fun. They're interesting. I mean, in I suppose as far as rock music goes, I hear new bands, you know, coming along, and I think I kind of heard it before, and I kind of
not your style.
You know, say again.
Not your style.
Well, it's not so much that. It's just I hear bands that imitate other bands.
Yeah,
a lot
true.
In rock music for some reason. You know, and I just think, well, I've heard it before. I've heard it done better before. I'm not convinced. I mean, you know, and I'm not trying to sort of, you know, diss all young rock bands. I'm not, because I think there's probably some great music out there. But the other thing is that, you know, because I guess the last few years, obviously, I've been very wrapped up in what Thunder's doing. So I haven't really, the fact we haven't been out gigging or playing at festivals, that's where I sort of discover new bands a lot of the time. And the fact that we haven't been out there doing all that, it's, you know, existence has been a little bit insular. So I've not been kind of coming across as much new music as I would have liked to have done. But, you know, I am an optimist, though, and I do believe that, you know, there will be another great rock band along soon who are young and do things in a slightly original way.
So the lyric video came out for Dancing Sunshine. And the whole song, and even the images that are behind the lyrics, it's a very 70s vibe. Is that kind of a hint of, is there like a video in the works? Is that kind of what the video is going to go for, if there is one?
I think it's interesting because the song, yeah, okay, let's just look at it as a piece of music or a song. I mean, it's one of the most positive songs on the album. So a lot of the album obviously is concerned with inflation and effects of the pandemic and the world and blah blah. But that's a really positive tune, and it kind of at the point. It's another song that I wrote very quickly, and I just thought, oh, this is cool. It's got like a. It reminded me a little bit of bands that I loved when I was a teenager, like the Doobie Brothers, and I love that kind of American rock and roll from the mid to late 70s, and had that kind of vibe to it. So we didn't fight that. We just kind of went with it. And strangely enough, when we submitted the album to BMG, they sort of jumped all over that song. Said, "We think this is really good. We'd like to do a lyric video for it." We said, "Yeah, sure, go for it." And they basically sent it to this guy, and he sent back the first kind of draft of it with all this kind of 70s images and stuff, and a nice summary day. We thought, yeah, fuck it, that's the right time. So sometimes things are nicely uncomplicated. So, we just kind of went with that as a concept. But there's no there isn't any major video coming. That's the only video you're going to get for it. But yeah, it's a kind of uplifting song, and we wanted the video to be kind of, I suppose, obviously to correspond with that. And also when I looked at the video, it kind of reminded me a little bit when I was a teenager, and long summers and and all of that stuff, that nice kind of blurry, fuzzy teenage shit that happened in the 70s. And so it all kind of worked.
Of course, we have to talk about Big Pink Supermoon, because that is the song that just, I think it's one of my favorites off the album.
Right.
It goes in a completely different direction. The saxophone was a very happy surprise. Is jazz a style that you all kind of like, and is that a direction you want to go into?
Well, it's interesting because when I sort of came up with the idea for the song, I kind of put it to one side for a while, and it kind of reminded me a little bit. It sounded more like a Tom Petty tune initially. Reminded me a little bit of "Breakdown," the Tom Petty song from Tom's first album. Although it's kind of not like it, but it kind of is a similar tempo thing. And I just thought, oh, it's kind of Tom Petty-ish. And I put it to one side, and then it kind of resurfaced again right towards the end of the writing the album. And I was going through ideas, thinking, have I missed anything? And I listened to that idea, and I thought, this is quite cool. So I just kind of pursued it for a while, and then sort of finished the song kind of. And I envisioned it because basically how we work is that I have a studio at home, and I sort of write the band songs obviously and demo them, and then send them out to the band, and then we get together in the studio to record. And I sent this one out to the guys, and without thinking about it too much. And then when they all came back and said, oh, this is interesting. And when we got together in the studio to record it, as soon as the backing track went down, I just thought, this kind of,
something's missing.
I was envisaging it with like maybe a guitar solo at the end that faded on about 4 minutes and whatever. But then I thought, what, sax would be really cool in this. And we kind of, on the previous album, we kind of contacted this guy who'd been recommended to us. We always record at Rockfield Studios, which is in Wales. It's very close to Cardiff. And the guy at the studio said to us, oh, there's this really cool guy in Cardiff who does brass arrangements. He's kind of weird though. He's agoraphobic, so he doesn't leave his house. You have to send the music to him. So we did that with a song called Last One Out, Turn Off Lights on the last album we did it. And with this album, obviously we're sitting there, and I thought, I wonder if he's a good soloist, this guy. So we just basically sent him the track, and my only brief to him was, just solo from the start of the fade to the end of the fade. Just, and the only brief to him was, think Junior Walker or FM by Steely Dan. There's a fantastic sax solo at the end of FM. Yeah. And I said, just think that kind of area. And literally 20 minutes later, he sent it back, and he'd done 2 passes, 2 takes, and they were both absolutely brilliant. I mean, we all sat there open mouthed in the studio going, Jesus, you know, goosebumps and all that shit. It was like, oh, this is fantastic. So when we kind of chosen one of the solos, it was interesting because when the album came to be mixed, we couldn't bear to fade it. We just, because it was so good, so we just kept it going and going and going and going, and literally until the fade had run out. And it all kind of made sense. Is it time? Oh, le mec.
Je suis désolé, mais ils vont avoir à 45, il y a leur taxi qui arrive.
Oui, pas de souci.
D'accord. Donc encore une question et puis hop, voilà quoi. D'accord.
So I heard you have an upcoming tour. You're even going to be playing at Hellfest. What kind of dates are you going to do?
Are you going to Hellfest?
I wish I was, but I know other people from the magazine will be there.
Sure. Okay, cool. Yes, we're doing the tour in the UK in May, which is going to be fantastic because it's been postponed twice. It's been a long time coming. So yeah, we're very much looking forward to that. It'd be great to be in front of people again and to play these new songs, obviously.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being with us. Have a great day.
So I'm going to get the train back to London now.
Okay, well, have a nice trip then.
Will do. Nice talking to you, darling. Take care.
Nice talking to you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Ha ha ha!